what are your plans for the off season and possibly playing or just doing individual workouts?
Yeah, I mean, probably take a little bit of a break here, just for maybe a week. I don't really want to lose kind of the stuff I've worked on, and just trying to get my body back to full health. There's some USA.
It was the snub heard around the world. A moment that stopped the sports world dead in its tracks when the 2024 Olympic roster was released. The exclusion of Caitlin Clark wasn't just a standard sports headline. It was a cultural earthquake that shook the very foundation of the WNBA. Here was the most electrifying player in the history of women's basketball. The woman responsible for selling out arenas that used to sit empty. The rookie breaking viewership records by the millions. And she was being told she wasn't good enough to wear the red, white, and blue. The decision felt personal. Calculated. Cold. It felt like a message being sent from the top down. But while the media was busy screaming about fairness and experience, they missed the most uncomfortable detail of all. The thing that turns this from a sports drama into a psychological thriller. This wasn't a faceless algorithm. It was a committee of real people. A small group of gatekeepers holding the keys to the kingdom. And sitting in the middle of that decision-making process was Stephanie White. At the time, she was the head coach of a rival team. She was part of the establishment that said no to the phenomenon. It was the ultimate gatekeeping moment, a clear signal that the new guard wasn't welcome yet. But the universe has a twisted sense of humor. Fast forward a few months, the script flips in the most shocking way possible. In a move that stunned the league and confused fans, the Indiana Fever fired their coach and hired Stephanie White. The very woman who blocked Caitlin Clark's Olympic dream was now controlling her minutes, her shots, and her career. Imagine walking into work and realizing your new boss is the person who publicly decided you weren't elite enough for the biggest stage in sports. This isn't just a coaching change. It's a high-stakes power struggle. Is this a fresh start? Or the beginning of a locker room civil war? Because when you remember the rage Clark played with after that snub, you have to wonder, can she truly trust the woman who clipped her wings? To understand the tension, we have to go back to the moment the news dropped. Expectations were sky high. Clark wasn't just having a good rookie season. She was doing things 10-year veterans had never done. She was the engine of the entire WNBA economy, bringing eyes to the sport that had never watched a minute of basketball before. So when the Team USA roster leaked and her name wasn't on it, the justification had to be bulletproof. The committee, including White, cited basketball reasons, seniority, defensive liabilities, and the notorious physicality of FEA-style play, supposedly too rough for a rookie. But reality tells a different story. Team USA has a history of taking young phenoms to groom them for the future. Diana Taurasi. College-aged Breanna Stewart. Leaving Clark off wasn't following tradition. It was breaking it. The explanation that she hadn't paid her dues felt like a polite way of saying, you haven't suffered enough yet. It reinforced a narrative that has plagued the WNBA for years, a rigid hierarchy based on tenure rather than impact. Stephanie White, as a member of that committee, had a front-row seat to Clark's game all season. She knew exactly what Clark could do, because she had to game plan against her. By signing off on that roster, she was agreeing that the greatest shooter we've ever seen didn't bring enough to win. A slap in the face disguised as a personnel decision. For Clark, who reads everything and remembers every slight, this wasn't just a roster omission. It was a challenge. The establishment closing ranks to protect their spots from the new girls stealing all the thunder. And this decision didn't happen in a vacuum. From draft day onward, tension was palpable. Icons questioned her ability. Opponents played her with physicality bordering on assault, picking her up full court, checking her into the stands. Nightly welcome to the league moments were happening, and they weren't subtle. The selection committee's decision validated that hostility. She's not one of us yet. It protected the legacy of veterans like Diana Taurasi, chasing her 6th gold medal. Nobody denies Taurasi's greatness. But was she better than Clark? Stats said no. Eye test said no. Politics said yes. Stephanie White operates inside that political machine. She understands the unwritten rules. Wait your turn, respect hierarchy. Clark didn't wait. She took it. And people, including her new coach, didn't like it. Then came the silence. No explanations. Generic press releases. Vague statements. Whispers of chemistry concerns, a polite code for, we don't want the circus. They didn't want every practice about Caitlin. They didn't want bus rides swarmed by fans. They chose comfort over competition. Safety over growth. Veterans over the future. And now, That same mindset is coaching her. But Clark didn't pout. She got angry. And angry Caitlin Clark is the most dangerous player on the planet. While Team USA won gold in Paris, Clark was in the gym, resting, resetting, reloading. When the season resumed, she was a different animal. Records shattered. Rookie assists. Rookie scoring. She led the Fever to the playoffs for the first time in nearly a decade. A full-blown revenge tour. Every three-pointer from the logo was a statement to the selection committee. They were wrong. Stephanie White saw it. She watched the monster she helped create. Meanwhile, Christy Sides, the Fever's former coach, became the casualty. She took the bullets for a slow start. Fans felt she held Clark back. Yet she stayed until the front office finally decided good wasn't enough. They realized they had a generational talent. They wanted a coach to match. Firing a coach after a playoff season is rare. But the Fever went all in on maximizing Clark's prime. Ironically, the best candidate was the one with the most baggage regarding the star player, Stephanie White. On paper, it made sense. Indiana legend. Miss Basketball in Indiana. Former Fever champion. Elite defensive coach. Local hero. But the elephant in the room? She voted no. Reports say Clark approved the hire. Maturity beyond her age. But approval not equal to acceptance. White left stability in Connecticut for the pressure cooker of Indiana. Why? To coach greatness. Or maybe, realizing you can't beat Clark, you join her. Power dynamics have shifted. In the committee room, White held the cards. In Indiana, Clark is the franchise. If things go wrong, it won't be Clark who gets fired. Basketball-wise, there's a clash. White equals defense. Slow pace. Grind. Discipline. Clark equals chaos. Speed. Shooting from 30 feet. Offense first. Opposite philosophies. Can White adapt? Or will she try to box Clark in? Fireworks are inevitable. Coaches have egos. Systems work. Temptation is strong. The Fever forced Clark to work with her critic. It removes the us vs them fuel, but it could also be genius. White knows Clark's weaknesses. If approached with humility, it could be powerful. If ego shows, it collapses. Clark has leverage. One wrong move, and the Olympic snub resurfaces. Looking to 2028 in Los Angeles, Clark in her prime, White still influential. This Indiana relationship is an audition for Team USA. Win together, wounds heal. Fail, conspiracies flourish. Old era versus new era. Tradition versus evolution. Power versus freedom. Every practice scrutinized. Every drill a test. Other players watching. One hint of unfairness, the locker room could fracture. But if it works, defense meets offense. Discipline meets firepower. Championship contender. Here we are, a superstar fueled by rejection and rage. A coach from the system that rejected her. Stuck together in Indianapolis. Move-a-level drama. High risk. High reward. The 2024 Olympic snub was a mistake. But whether it becomes a footnote or a lifelong feud depends entirely on the next few months. One thing is guaranteed. It won't be boring. Caitlin Clark isn't asking for permission anymore. She's coming for everything they said she couldn't have.